This is a real interview taken in November 2025 with a student who moved to Italy. It is one of the most exciting stories we have, and we decided to start our channel with it. You can find the original interview through the link in the description. My name is Max. I live in Italy, in Rome. I came here from Kazakhstan 2 years ago to study. Before I moved to Rome, I did a foundation program in another city, and after that, I started my bachelor's degree here. I am from Astana, the capital of Kazakhstan. I moved to Italy when I was 18 years old. Before coming here, I already knew English at B2 level because it was a requirement of the university, but I did not know Italian at all when I arrived. I started learning Italian after I moved to Italy. I study in English, but Italian is still very important. Not all local people speak English, so for daily life, it is much better to know at least basic Italian. Because in Kazakhstan we study only 11 years at school, I had to do one extra year before starting university in Italy. In Europe, school is 12 years, so students from CIS countries must either do a foundation year or study 1 year in their own country. You cannot skip this step, but you can choose where to do it. I chose to do a foundation program in Italy, in a city called Siena. It is a small town in Tuscany, near Florence. My main subject there was economics. I also studied English, Italian, and math. All foundation programs are paid. When I applied, it cost 3,500 euros, but now it is around 5,000 euros. After I finished school in 2022 to 2023, I used a company from Kazakhstan that helps students study abroad. But it was a bad experience. They did not help me much, so I had to find information and do most things by myself. Because of this, I lost 1 year. I was already accepted to the foundation program in Siena, but I had problems with my visa because I was under 18 at that time. In Italy, and in Europe in general, if you are under 18 and go abroad to study, you must have a legal guardian. This guardian must be either an Italian citizen or a student who has a residence permit and lives in the same country where you study. These services are expensive. Just for signing one paper, you may have to pay about 200 euros. And even then, there is no guarantee that your visa will be approved. I applied for a visa in August 2023, and I waited for a very long time. While I was waiting, my foundation classes had already started. I kept waiting, but in the end, I got a refusal. The reason was that I did not have a guardian, and that they said I did not have enough money on my bank account. This is a common problem when applying for a student visa in Italy. You must show a certain amount of money in your bank account. It is about 7,000 euros for 1 year. So, if you apply for a 1 year foundation program, you must show at least 7,000 euros. If you apply for a bachelor's degree, which is 3 years in Italy, you must show about 21,000 euros. You have to show the money for all years. But it does not have to stay in your account forever. You only need to show a bank statement. After you get the visa, you can take the money out. So this part is not a big problem if you can find the money for a short time. I showed about 9,000 euros on my account, which should have been enough. But because I did not have a guardian and because of other issues, my visa was refused. As a result, I lost 1 year. I stayed in my country and did not study during that time. Of course, I also lost some money. Applying for a visa is not cheap. You have to pay the visa fee, pay for documents, translations, and legalization. I do not remember the exact number, but it was around 500 euros, maybe a bit less. After that, I stayed in Astana and did not study. But I decided that I would not give up. I knew I would apply again for the same foundation program and for the visa again. The second time was easier because I already knew how everything worked. I prepared all my documents, sent them, got a new invitation from the university, and applied for the visa again. I waited a long time, but in the end, I finally got it. I waited a very long time for my visa. I was one of the first people who applied. The visa season usually starts in June, when students finish school and start applying. Most people apply in June, July, or August. But I already had all my documents, so I decided to apply at the end of April. I thought there would be no queue and that I would get my visa quickly. But that did not happen. I received my visa only at the beginning of August, so I waited almost 4 or 5 months. But it did not worry me too much. The most important thing was that I finally got the visa. I had waited for more than a year for this moment, so I was very happy. From what I know, visa waiting times in Italy are very random. Some people get their visa in 1 or 2 weeks, some in a month, and some wait much longer, like I did. In other countries, it is often faster, but in Italy, it really depends on luck. I applied in Astana, in Kazakhstan. There are visa centers in Astana and Almaty, and also in some other cities like Shymkent. I paid the agency about 1,000 euros, maybe a bit more. After that, I stopped working with them and did everything by myself. My main goal was just to get the visa, come to Italy, and finally start studying. After waiting so long, getting the visa felt like a big achievement for me. To apply for the foundation program, first I had to pay a registration fee. This is the fee for checking your application. Last year, I paid about 130 euros for this. After that, I got an invitation from the university and applied for the visa. When I arrived in Italy, I submitted my documents for a residence permit and then received full enrollment in the university. After full enrollment, I had to pay for the foundation program. In some years, you can pay in parts, and in some years, you have to pay the full amount at once. You get a bill, you pay it, and then your enrollment is complete. About housing, I was very lucky in Siena. I had already found an apartment 1 year earlier, when I was waiting for my visa. I hoped I would get the visa soon, so I started looking for housing early. I found a really good place. When I did not arrive, another person lived there. But 1 year later, that person moved out, and the apartment became free again. I had already told the owner that I would come, so when I finally arrived, I went to see the apartment, paid for it, and moved in. I did not live alone. I had roommates. It is easy to find roommates in Italy because there are many Telegram groups for students. Each city and each university has its own group where people talk about studies, housing, and everything else. I rented a room, not the whole apartment, because renting a full apartment is very expensive. In Siena, I paid 475 euros for my room. With utilities, it was about 550 euros per month. For Siena, this is quite expensive because the city is small. Normally, rooms there cost around 350 to 400 euros. But my apartment was very good. It was a big 4-room apartment with a large living room, a laundry room, a private yard, and even a barbecue area. So I lived very well in Siena. When I think about my foundation year, I have mixed feelings about it. I cannot say that Siena gave me a lot in terms of studying. The education there was not very strong, because a foundation program is not the same as a bachelor's degree. On a bachelor's program, everything is strict and serious. But on the foundation, it was very relaxed. It did not really matter if you came to classes or not. The only thing that mattered was to pass the exams. The only subject that was really hard was economics. We had a very strict teacher, and many students failed this exam because they did not study. I also failed economics the first time. I had to stay in Siena for 1 more month because the retake was in July. The main exams were in June, and the retake was 1 month later. I stayed, prepared well, and passed it with a very high score. I got 29 out of 30. Economics was actually useful for me. Siena is known for economics, so this subject was taught well, and it helped me later. All the other exams were very easy. On some exams, people copied. On some, teachers helped. And on some exams, they even gave automatic passes. So in general, only economics was really serious. About language, it is also a bit tricky. Most students in foundation programs are from CIS countries, because only they need this extra year. In my group, about 80% of students were Russian-speaking. The classes were in English, but many students did not even go to lessons. So a lot of people did not really improve their English or Italian. Many of them just spent 1 year in Italy without studying much. I personally tried to go to classes because for me, getting this chance was a big achievement. I did not want to waste it. Of course, I sometimes skipped or came late, but I still tried to study. Still, in most classes, there were not many students. After I finished my foundation year, I had to think about applying for a bachelor's degree. In Italy, applications for bachelor's programs start already in January. So while you are still studying in your foundation year, you must already prepare for university. You will get your foundation certificate at the end, and you can upload it later. But the application process starts much earlier. I would not say that applying to Italian universities is very difficult. Of course, it depends on the person. Not everyone can just go to a website, read the requirements, understand them, and apply. But I already had experience from applying to the foundation and from talking to other students, so for me, it was not too hard. At first, I was not sure where I wanted to study for my bachelor's degree, but I knew I did not want to stay in Siena. Siena is a nice city, but it is small. I grew up in Astana, a big capital city with a lot of activity, so living in a small town was not for me. I wanted to move to a bigger city. I started looking at different universities. Many people say that the best universities in Italy are in the north. Italy is often divided into north and south. The south is what many people imagine when they think about Italy. Easy life, weekends, beaches, Aperol, and relaxation. The north is more rich and more developed economically. Because of this, many students try to go to the north. Milan and Turin are the most popular choices. Turin is a bit easier to enter than Milan, so many students go there. I also thought about Turin, but I did not really like the city. During my foundation year, I traveled a lot around Italy and other countries. In the end, I decided that Rome was the best city for me. I really liked it there. I chose the University Tor Vergata in Rome because I liked the faculty. Now I study global governance, which is about international relations and international management. In Turin, there was a program called Global Law, which is international law. It was also interesting, but I did not like the subjects as much, and I also did not like the city that much. So in the end, I chose Rome. I started looking for housing in Turin, and honestly, it was very hard. There are many problems with renting there. Some apartments are just crazy expensive. Because I already lived 1 year in Italy, I knew what normal prices should be, so I was looking for something within a reasonable budget. For one room, I wanted to pay no more than 550 euros. But many landlords were asking 700 euros just for one room, which is way too much. I kept searching, but it was not easy. Some good options were only for girls. Some were only for workers, not for students. So I stayed in Pavia for about 2 weeks, trying to find something in Turin. I did not go to Turin every day. I called landlords directly because I already knew some Italian. I asked if the room was free and if I could come to see it. I collected a few options and went on one day to check them. Still, I could not find anything. I even went to Siena one time to try to solve my residence permit problem, but nothing worked. Siena is about 6 hours from Pavia. By September 1st, I knew I could not stay in Pavia anymore because I was living for free at my friend's place. So I decided to go to Turin and try my luck there. If I could not find anything, I would go back to Pavia. I found one very good room for €350. I made an appointment with the owner. I came to the door and wrote that I was there. She did not reply for 20 minutes. I was waiting and thought, okay, Italians are often late. Then she wrote to me and said that another person came before me and already rented the room. She just waited and did not tell me right away. Sadly, this kind of thing is very common in Italy. There are many tourists and students, so landlords know they always have power. Sometimes you almost have to beg just to see an apartment. I had one backup option that I really did not like. It was a room with 2 Pakistani guys, 3 people in one room. The price was €200 for a month, which is very cheap, but the conditions were bad. I asked if I could stay just 1 week instead of 1 month. The student who was sub-renting agreed. I paid only €50 for 1 week. So I moved to Turin and thought, okay, now I will 100% study here. I did not finish my full enrollment at the university yet because I still had time, and inside, I still hoped for Rome. After 3 days in Turin, I finally went outside for a walk. Before that, I was just sitting at home and looking for apartments all day. I met some friends and told them that I would study in Turin, but I still did not have my residence permit. They did not believe me and told me to check the immigration website. I opened the website, entered my PIN code, and for the first time, I saw a green check mark. Before that, there was always a cross. I checked it many times every day, but now it was approved. It was a huge surprise. I also got a message that I had to collect my residence permit on September 9th. So my residence permit was finally ready, which solved one big problem. That day I went for a walk, came home late, and went to sleep without thinking about anything. The next morning, while I was sleeping, I got a call from an Italian number. I answered and thought it was probably about an apartment. I spoke in Italian, but the man on the phone answered in English. He told me he was calling from the University of Rome Tor Vergata about my application. I was totally shocked. He said that a place had opened and that I now had a chance to enroll in the university. He did not say that I was 100% accepted. He started asking me many questions, like a small interview. I answered everything. In the end, he said, "Okay, maybe I will call you later." That usually means they will not call again, so I did not expect much. But still, I had a little hope. I thought to myself, my residence permit is ready, and now Rome has called me. Siena is close to Rome, much closer than Turin. So I made a deal with myself. If I get an answer from Rome before September 9th, I will go to Rome. If not, I will stay in Turin. The next day, I woke up and saw an email. I was accepted to the university in Rome. I was extremely happy. They wrote that the semester had already started and that I should come as soon as possible. It was around September 6th. On September 9th, I went to get my residence permit, and the next day, I went straight to Rome. I was lucky because I had rented my room in Turin only for 1 week. If I had paid for a full month, I would have lost money. Everything happened exactly on time. I went to Siena, picked up my residence permit, and then traveled to Rome. I arrived in Rome early in the morning on September 10th. I left my suitcase at a friend's place and went straight to the university. I ran to the university on my first day. Classes had already started, and everyone already knew each other. I knew no one, and honestly, I was a bit scared. It was a new place, new people, and I did not really understand what was waiting for me. I came into the classroom and sat in a free seat in the corner, so I would not disturb anyone because the class was about to start. But the students sitting near me said, "Why are you sitting alone? Come and sit with us." They were very friendly. I sat with them and we started talking right away. From the first minutes, I already felt much better. These were local bachelor students. In our program, there are more than 100 students, and only about 10 of them are from CIS countries. The rest are from all over the world: Italy, Africa, Asia, and many other places. The lesson started like usual. Then, in the middle of the class, the coordinator came in and said to everyone, "Welcome our new student." He said my name and asked me to stand up and tell something about myself. I stood up in front of more than 100 people and said a few words about me. Then I waved, and everyone started clapping. It felt really nice. When I sat down again, I could hear people from all over the room saying things like, "Hi, Max, where are you from? Welcome to our university." I really did not expect that. It was a very warm and positive moment. After I solved the university problem, my first day went great. But I still had one big problem. I had no place to live. I was sitting in class and at the same time looking for housing on my phone. The lessons ended, but I stayed at the university because I had nowhere to go. Someone told me to write in our faculty group. I wrote that I had just arrived in Rome and that I had no place to stay, and I asked if someone could let me stay for 1 week while I look for housing. Right away, many students started to text me and call me. Everyone wanted to help, but most of them could not host me. Many had strict landlords, or no free space, or they were also new in Rome. Still, the fact that so many people tried to help meant a lot. By 8 p.m., it was already getting dark, and I was still in the university. I called a friend who lives in Rome, but she also has strict neighbors. In the end, she managed to talk to them, and they allowed me to stay for 1 night. Just 1 night, but that was already something. I was really living one day at a time. I was not thinking about tomorrow. I only needed a place to sleep tonight. The next day, I went back to the university. Then I got a message on WhatsApp from an Italian guy. He studies for a master's degree in my university. He heard that I had no place to stay. He said he lives with his family in a big apartment and that I could stay with them for free. Of course, I agreed. We met after classes. He has a car, and he said he could drive me to the university and back because he lives about 20 kilometers away. On Thursday, I went to his home, met him and his family. I did not know him before at all, but I decided to take the risk. He turned out to be a very kind person, and his family was also very nice. I asked how long I could stay, and he said, "As long as you want." So now I live with them. It has been almost a week already. He did not ask me for any money. Of course, I plan to move out later because I cannot stay forever, but right now I have a place to live. They help me, they feed me, they drive me to the university. I really have good conditions. That's my life right now. And honestly, this story is crazy. In the first days at the university, I started studying at the Global Governance faculty. which is about international and global management. The first week was a pre-course, so it was not the official start yet. It was more like preparation for the main studies. We had calculus, which is math, and history. The classes were normal. The teachers were good. Our program coordinator is a special person. Sometimes he is a bit strict and direct, but he is very strong as a teacher. He is also the founder of the Global Governance Program. Thanks to him, this faculty has a very high ranking in Italy. In our field, we are second in the whole country. Bologna is first, and our university is second. All classes are in English. We study in big classrooms with many students. The teachers are open, and you can talk to them, ask questions, discuss, and even argue about topics. So far, my first impression of the university is very positive. In Italy, there is a regional scholarship called DSU. Almost everyone who wants to study in Italy knows about it. This scholarship does not come from the university, it comes from the government. DSU is a kind of financial help for students whose family income is lower than the average in Italy. And because salaries in CIS countries are much lower than in Italy, most students from there are seen as low income in Italy. So many of us can get this scholarship. You have to send documents that show your family income, how you live, that you do not have a luxury life. The government checks these documents and decides if you can get the scholarship. If you are approved, you get money every year, free meals, and free tuition. The results usually come at the end of the year. I already applied for it, but I am still waiting for the result. For now, I do not pay tuition. I only pay a small regional fee of 160 euros and show the university that I have applied for DSU. Because of this, the university does not ask me to pay tuition yet. When the results come, if I get the scholarship, my studies will be free. If not, then I will have to pay. I could not apply for DSU during my foundation year. It is only for bachelor students. I applied for the first time this year. My pre-application was already approved, and the final result should come around November or December. Life in Italy is not as expensive as people think. Food and public transport are not very costly. Prices are similar to CIS countries, except for meat, which is more expensive. With about 300 euros, you can cover food and transport if you live normally. Of course, parties and going out are extra. The biggest cost is housing, and the first month is always the hardest, because you must pay a deposit. In Europe, when you rent a room or an apartment, you usually pay a deposit of 1 to 3 months. So if your rent is 500 euros, in the first month you may need to pay 1,000 or even 1,500 euros. Whew. This includes the deposit and the first month of rent. You also have extra costs for documents, residence permit, transport cards, and other things. Most students do not work at the beginning because many of them expect to get a scholarship. But the DSU scholarship is paid only from December. The results come in November or December, and sometimes the money comes even later, until January or February. So when you come to Italy, you must be ready to live for the first months with your own money. Now I feel that the hardest part is already behind me. Of course, there are still challenges in the future, but I have already passed the most difficult stage. I am just moving forward, step by step. That's my story. My name is Artyom, and I have done around 2,000 interviews with people who moved to different countries. I hope you liked this story and that it maybe helped you improve your English. Don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.